Welcome to the Great Wall of China. The Great Wall of China, one of the greatest wonders of the world, was listed as a World Heritage by UNESCO in 1987. Just like a gigantic dragon, the Great Wall winds up and down across deserts, grasslands, mountains, and plateaus, stretching approximately 8,851.8 kilometers from east to west of China, with a history of more than 2,000 years. Since the Warring States period to Ming Dynasty, some of the sections are now in ruins or have disappeared. However, it is still one of the most appealing attractions all around the world, owing to its architectural grandeur and historical significance. The history started during 220 before centuries. Under Qin Shi Huang dictation, most of the early sections of fortification were joined together to form a united defense system against invasion from the north. The constructions continued up to the Ming Dynasty, when the Great Wall became the world's largest military structure. Its historic and strategic importance is matched only by its architectural significance. Tian, do you know how the condition of the Great Wall is recently?
Yes, recently some parts of the Great Wall of China have almost disappeared. Meanwhile, some parts have been overwhelmed by the elements, while some parts have been damaged by the desert. Others eroded by local people recycling the wall's materials for constructions in their village. Nevertheless, the Great Wall in large parts still stands in silent splendor, enduring the passage of time and greeting the changes of the seasons, as it has done for many hundreds of years.
Such a pity. How is this majestic architecture being constructed?
Actually, this majestic structure starts its construction since Qing's dynasty. During Qing dynasty, most of the early Great Walls were composed of loose stone, but when the natural stone in an area was not sufficient, the engineers turned to another method of wall building, a stoneless wall that was built using a wooden rectangular frame that was then filled with loose soil. Soil was trampled down for many hours by a team of workers until it was solid. This process of filling and trampling would be repeated over and over until the wall reached the desired height. During Han Dynasty, despite a lack of building materials, laying down a layer of willow weeds, possibly woven, then a layer of gravel and a little water was applied and trampled solid. After the trampling, a new layer of weeds and gravel was added. This process would be repeated until the desired height was reached. Amazingly, some portions of the Great Wall are still standing, partly due to the dry conditions of the garbage. During Ming Dynasty, their methods of Great Wall building fuse all that was learned by the two previous dynasties. First, a center of trampled earth was created. Then, around the firm center was applied a shell of stones and bricks. The bricks that was created by the Ming are so strong that they compare well with the ones we use today. Near Beijing, the Great Wall is constructed from quarried limestone blocks and fire brick. Along the main Great Wall of China, there are many watchtowers. These were partly used to transmit military messages. Fire and smoke were the most efficient means for communication. Fire was used at night and smoke during the day. Straw and dung was used for this. In 1468, a series of regulations set specific meanings to these signals. A single shot and a single fire or smoke signal implied about 100 enemies. Two signal warned of 500. Three warned of over 1,000 and so on. In this way, a message could be transmitted over more than 500 kilometers of the Great Wall within a few hours. When the Ming Dynasty was betrayed by an important general Wu Sangui, it was taken over by the Qing Dynasty. During the invasion of Qing Dynasty, the Great Wall was of less strategic value, mainly because the Manchu extended their political control far to the north of it, and slowly the construction of Great Wall was neglected.
Oh, I see.
How about you, Chen? Do you know anything about the Great Wall?
Yes, I do. There is actually a story behind this majestic structure. Many people had sacrificed in this development period. In fact, there is a story to describe how miserable people are living in this era and thus people are forced to work. This story begins with centuries ago. There was a couple named Meng Jiangnu and Fan Qiliang. At that time, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of Qin, announced to build the Great Wall. So lots of men were caught by the federal officials. After 3 days of their marriage, Fan Qiliang was caught and forced to be part of the construction labor. Meng Jiangnu missed her husband so much that she decided to set off and look for him. She climbed over mountains and went through the rivers, worked day by day, night by night, sleeping and falling many times. After 10 years, she finally reached the foot of the Great Wall. Upon her arrival, bad news came to her noticing her husband had already died of exhaustion and was buried under the Great Wall. Meng Jiangnu could not help crying and suddenly a tremendous noise occurred, and the 400 kilometers long section of the Great Wall collapsed over her bitter will. Finally, she cannot accept the fact of her husband's death and then jumped to the Bohai Sea.
How sad.
Definitely. By the way, this story tells of the hard working of Chinese commoners, as well as exposes the cruel system of hard labor during this reign of Emperor Qin Shi Huang. The 10,000 kilometers Great Wall embodied the power and the wisdom of the Chinese nation. In memory of Meng Jiangnu, later generations built a temple called the Jiangnu Temple at the foot of the Great Wall, in which a statue of Meng Jiangnu is located. Meng Jiangnu's story has been passed down from generation to generation through media, such as Chinese opera, songs, poetry, textbooks, and movies.
During the 18th of November 2009, Wednesday, President Obama, accompanied by John and Huntsman Jr., as well as Zhou Wenzhang, China's ambassador to the United States, visited the Great Wall of China, the Badaling section. President Obama stated that only an impressive country can come up with such magnificent structure. Then he also mentioned that he brings great admiration for Chinese civilization, and he also brings greetings from the American people. After that, he then paused and added reflectively, "It gives you a good perspective on a lot of day-to-day things. They don't amount to much in the scope of history." Have you ever been to the Great Wall of China? Do you know there's an archaism states that he who never been to the Great Wall is not a true man in China? The Great Wall has special meaning in China. It represents the spirit of Chinese people. It also represents the impregnable bulwark. Therefore, every people in China looks forward to walk up the Great Wall. In order to show how important is the Great Wall of China towards Chinese civilization, its feature was imprinted in the 4th edition of RMB 1 Notes and the Great Wall Credit Card. Besides that, there are some movie sceneries taken part in the Great Wall of China, such as The Mummy 3 and also Tomb Raider 2. As for conclusion, the Great Wall is a great place for tourist purposes, so why don't you pay a visit to it? The Great Wall awaits you!